I started my career in workforce development with the state of Kentucky in 2010. That experience ignited a deep passion for manufacturing within me. I started this show hoping to raise more awareness around the bright outlook manufacturing careers have. Join me as I sit down with some of the manufacturing industry's most successful changemakers and learn how they're partnering people with technology. It's time to give people more meaningful work. This is Workforce 4.0.
Hey y'all, this is Ann Wyatt, and I'm coming to you here from the amazing Fontainebleau Hotel in Las Vegas for the Schneider Innovation Summit of 2025. So excited to be here this morning, and so excited to bring the Workforce 4.0 podcast to you all with some amazing guests from this event. During this event, we're going to be going through all of the highlights of what Schneider Electric is doing for the innovation of technology, and most importantly, for the people that will apply this technology in the future of work. Very excited to be sitting here today with Suzanne and Doug. So you all, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Do you want to take a minute and maybe introduce yourselves more properly for everyone listening in today?
Absolutely. So Suzanne Soper, great to be here with all of you. I am the Vice President of U.S. Commercial Services with Schneider Electric. So our organization is very focused on outcome-based services across all solutions, whether it's homes, industries, businesses. And we're excited, Doug and I, to be here to answer all the questions and talk about all the things that we have going on at this exciting time in the juncture of Schneider Electric.
Yeah, for sure. And Doug Beck, Director of Industrial Automation, U.S. Services, and excited to be here. Thank you for having us. And we're empowering these workforces to modernize and digitalize our industrial automation platform on the factory floor, and excited about the convergence of AI and its impact on our workforce.
That's amazing. Yeah, I am really excited to have this conversation because this is such a polarizing perspective, and it's kind of outside of what I normally talk about on the show, which is more in line with Doug's probably expertise. But Suzanne, I am really looking forward to seeing how we're applying this technology for not only the workforce, but also how it's touching our everyday lives as consumers. And I think that's a really cool conversation as well, because on one hand, we've got all this technology going out in the workforce, but on the other hand, you know, we've also got it kind of being deployed in our smart devices, in our homes. And how do we merge those two things together, which I think has really been hard for manufacturing companies traditionally. So I guess with that, Suzanne, you know, have you seen any kind of merging of these two sectors? Like, how is Schneider leading that charge and taking those changes and applying those uniformly across these two different markets, we'll say?
It truly is multifaceted. So from a Schneider perspective, we look at the usage of AI both internally and externally. So the solutions that we offer to our customers, all of our products are built with a digital-ready componentry. So essentially, our service offerings that then can tap into utilizing all of that data that's coming in from our products to understand what's happening. What are the things that the data is telling us in order for us to react appropriately? So hear terms like condition-based maintenance. Well, what does that mean? It's all about taking the data that's coming from the products that you learn from for us to then be able to deliver better outcomes to our customers and through and with our partners. Not only is it like that's the external piece and how we ground ourselves now in both the product but also our service solutions that all come together around the usage of AI and software-defined technologies. You then pair that internally, and so within my organization, right, I lead a pretty large sales organization. And just in our everyday lives, I don't know about you guys, ChatGPT has become a friend of mine for all kinds of things, planning vacation itineraries, you name it, right? Well, it's the same thing in the workforce, right? So you have sales teams that need access to certain information. In the past, it used to be, wait a minute, I have to figure out what website do I go to, what Teams drive, what folder do I go find this content? Well, now we're building tools around using AI to, okay, if I'm going to go and have this customer meeting and I want to have this presentation, let me punch this in and see what comes back. So it's really about how, in my mind, all things center on how do we become more efficient? How do we optimize our time for ourselves, right, within Schneider, as well as obviously then for our customers and partners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that point about ChatGPT. I think that now, I mean, it's just so relatable, right? I mean, chat has really become our AI companions in a lot of ways. You use ChatGPT a lot, Suzanne?
I
said?
do.
Yeah?
I do, yes.
But what kind of applications do you use ChatGPT for?
So honestly, it's just like everyday life, whether it's on the way here. Like I said, vacation planning, where I'm taking my family to Belize. I put in there, I said, these are the things that I'd like to do, and plan out, tell me where to eat, where to go, who to use, and it's pretty incredible how fast those things come back. I also use it not ChatGPT within Schneider. We have our own platform that we use. Yeah.
What?
It's a Microsoft platform, but I can use it, for example, in performance reviews.
Nice.
So instead of having to spend hours of going and creating, all this documentation, you could use AI to support. And these are the things that I want to write in my performance reviews. How would I structure that? We have a colleague and I, we had an engagement with a partner where we were working through some negotiations. We utilized the platform to say, these are the things that we'd like to put in this proposal. So there's all kinds of things on the personal front and then on the work front that I use it for on a daily basis.
I think for so many of us that's so relatable, though, because I love ChatGPT, and I do it kind of for the same applications, right? Because at one level, you don't want it to really make your ultimate decisions for you. But at the next level, it's great to have all of the data and information there so that, where I would have spent hours accumulating that data on my own, it's just there in minutes. And I think that's something that more and more today Americans are really starting to leverage. Love what you mentioned about for performance reviews as well. I think a lot of my HR colleagues out there are starting to kind of get into the AI performance reviews too. That's really interesting. I love that. Doug, you use ChatGPT? Are you a ChatGPT person?
So I do use ChatGPT for some interesting personal things in his work, but really one of the best applications of AI is actually, we have this convergence going right now, the expansion of U.S. manufacturing, you have the power grid, you have some reshoring, electrification, workforce to support, right? How do we move forward and optimize the workforce, optimize the cost to operate a facility using kind of the concept of ChatGPT and AI? What Susan was saying is, hey, it's a tremendous time savings for me, right? When you can take AI and you can get those time savings, or you can optimize the operation of something like a drive or like a piece of switchgear or a UPS system where maintenance doesn't have to be done every year just because a book says you have to do it every year, but maintenance gets to be done every couple of years because the machine tells you, hey, I'm doing well, I'm doing fine. Then you get some free time to go to Belize, or you get some free time to build a bourbon club agenda like I use ChatGPT for. Right. Nice. So, and so really, it's really kind of looking at, whoever wins the application of AI really is going to win in the services market overall, because how you optimize your customers, optimize their time, reduce their cost to operate their facility, increase the efficiency of the facility. That's really the huge wins. I love the conversation around how we use ChatGPT and how we find time savings, but we're all like infants kind of learning the race, right? We're going to adapt this quickly, scale it into how we deploy and go on and optimize people's workforces, people's operations, facilities, right?
That's right. Absolutely. And I definitely want to get a little bit more into that, because that, Doug, I don't know if you're familiar with the Workforce 4.0 podcast, but a big reason of why I started this podcast was because in manufacturing, we've traditionally always had these 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. It's really hard on people that have to go to work and work these 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts. But we understand as business that these things have to move forward because the production and the supply and demand of the things that we produce are so high. Is there any capacity, do you feel like, that this emerging technology could maybe ease and or transition some of that time savings to everyone that's showing up on the factory floor?
100%. And Suzanne's been part of a great initiative with a major data center customer. If you look at how data centers operate and you look at the expansion of the data center world, right? It's a rapidly growing market, workforce increasing less than 1%, right? So we're seeing 7, 10, 15, 20% demand for services at these facilities with a workforce that's only growing roughly 1%. So how do we make up that gap? the way to make up that gap is utilization of AI to optimize the maintenance, optimize the commissioning. So make opportunity to have equipment ready to commission out of the box, be able to install it, set it up. AI begins to program it, naturally brings it on, reduces the time. The problem that everybody's facing today is we have a big aging infrastructure facilities, manufacturing, power grid, even data centers are old, right? They have to continue to operate those, but we have to expand the energy market in the U.S. We need, 1,000 to 2,000 terawatt hours every 10 years to keep up with the pace of electrification. So that expansion of facilities and that build out requires ever more and more people. Well, we don't have more and more people. We're not into populations that are heading into these types of markets aggressively. So how we optimize AI, which is driving all of this, right? So the build out of AI is building data centers, causing this sperm. But at the same time, we have to use data AI to optimize the facility, optimize the customer's operation, optimize our own operations where our services teams can't do traditional time-based maintenance every year or 3 years or 5 years, or reduce these emergency call-outs by giving us pre-notifications of things we can address while we're on site. How great is it if we go out to a customer site because we're scheduled to be there on site for maintenance, but we have a machine in another part of the building saying, hey, I'm okay right now, but you're probably going to want to check on me in 3 or 4 months. Well, why don't we just check on you right now instead of waiting the 3 or 4 months? Because that's a whole nother mobilization. That's a whole nother impact to a worker who has to come out. So the optimization of maintenance, the optimization of operation, the efficiency gains we see from this, it has to play out because we don't have the workforce to continue on this time-based traditional approach that we've used for the last several decades.
That's and if you don't mind, I'll add to what Doug just shared, your point around the amount of time, right?
Right.
Like people time.
Right.
In terms of whether it's a data center, whether it's a manufacturing facility, what Doug just walked through, what we see is there's so much additional time when you end up having an outage, right? So when the emergencies happen, obviously business impact, there's cost to whomever, whether it's, like I said, whether it's a data center, whether it's a manufacturing site. When what we're seeing is that the use of this true predictive set of analytics, we can cut that unplanned downtime by 75%, which is massive. Because then customers aren't facing the emergencies. You're not having people have to come in and be countless hours to bring an environment back up. So that's a really big factor that we're seeing in this shift, truly using AI to leverage ensuring that you don't have those outages in any type of environment.
Yeah. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that, as the technology progresses, we'll certainly, that'll be so reliable that we will look back at this time and we will think, that didn't turn out so bad. But I think for the average plant manager out there, if you could give them some advice, or operations manager on the floor, to ease their mind, I think everyone is still kind of like, well, does it really work? Is it really reliable? What's some advice you would give them?
I would say, I can understand, right? Can understand the potential anxiety as you describe. But I think for any, plant manager, right, first and foremost, it's the success of running that plant, right? And these technologies are just as the word implies, they are a tool, right? It's a tool in order to drive simplification, resiliency, ensuring that efficiency layer is as best as possibly can be achieved. So while maybe there's that, fear factor, so to speak, it's truly just another tool in the toolkit to be leveraged to be able to take leaps and, bounds forward. Absolutely.
Yeah. Doug, do you hear that when you're deploying technology from manufacturing companies? Is that something you hear often?
Yeah. I mean, it is. We've been at this point for a few years. I think we're beginning to get over the hump. We're beginning to kind of rapidly evolve where we're going. But, I've been in this 30 years. So I've started when we had no data. I started when we began to get data, and I saw all the pushback of, hey, you're not going to connect our devices, or, there's IT says no. We go through those transitions, right? I think we're at an interesting point now where I think the IT people are coming to us and saying, hey, why don't we have data from this machine? Or why can't we get information from you? Like, well, you can. It's all embedded. The technology's there. You just need to plug an Ethernet cable into pretty much every device we have. It'll pull up web servers, feed you the information. It'll give you its analytics and predictive diagnostics. But along the way, during the project, it didn't get connected for some reason. So we have these people with this kind of thirst for data because the IT teams, some of the operation teams, they understand the power of data.
With the newer generations, don't you think?
So 100%. That's exactly where I'm going. If you look at my team, I have great young people on my team, and that's where I do all my learning. I'm at an age of I need somebody to kind of show me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not up on all of the,
Me too, Doug.
the AI, right? At this point, yeah, you get your son to come and show you how to do it, right?
I do.
So, I mean, that's where it is you really have to have a really diverse team, right? And there's great places to get people. You can get people from the veteran community who come out. I'm actually a veteran, so I'm very aligned with that, and we hire a lot of them.
Well, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And then great young people, great young talent, and putting that young talent in a position where they're empowered to be part of a strong team and make decisions and drive us forward, because the things and the ideas and the way they look at things is so different from how generation I would look at something, right? I would look at it and see all the challenges. They look at it and see all the delights and opportunity, and somewhere in the middle, we kind of twizzle that together to make it work the right way. And we're seeing that in our customers. We're seeing our customers come to us and say, hey, we can't continue to go down this customer-supplier relationship. We need to form a partnership where we collaborate on data and the use of data and how we use data and what you could develop for us. And there's a little bit of kind of pulling the curtains back from both sides. And we're beginning to get very close with folks today, which is, spot we always wanted to be in, right? We're always about, if you look maybe 5 years ago, we talked a lot about impacting customer outcomes. And we're seeing kind of that become reality today as we're able to work more closely with customers and really get ingrained into how they operate the facility, how they maintain the facility, how the facility gets serviced. And so it's incredible to watch that take place.
I think also with your question around, in our engagements with plant managers, plant directors, when you see all of the new manufacturing, right?
Right. The industry 4.0. We talk about workforce. See what I did there?
Pair it together. With the amount of energy utilization that, as Doug just mentioned,
that's right,
the 1,000 to 2,000 terawatts over the next 10 years, there's a bit of the hand is forced in the sense of having to find the most efficient solutions because there's only so much, electricity to go around, right? So all of the things that are happening, like that there's all of that converges, really with the things we're talking about from AI, but it's still in terms of the grid to what now needs to be available at the new plants. Part of this is all around the solutioning of making sure that optimization is there because, again, there's finite in life, right? Resources are finite. And that's what, is so exciting about Schneider is we're very focused on ensuring that the level to which the utilization is really at an optimal state because we all need that, right? We need to make sure we're focused there.
Yeah, absolutely, Suzanne. And I think one of the things, that I was kind of going to go down here, this road, if you all will go down this road with me.
Let's see.
Yes!
We consult ChatGPT, see if I should go.
Where's my phone?
Well, no, one of the things that I really wanted to know from each of you is, how is Schneider Electric driving that innovation and where are we on the forefront of this major convergence? Because we do have so many factors at play right now that, we woke up one day, we are now being put in a situation where we are nearshoring and reshoring immediately, and all of these companies are announcing these major capital investments. I know GM just announced a big investment back home where I am, close to me in Tennessee, of how they are going to reshore and nearshore. And a lot of other companies have done this as well. So how is Schneider preparing for that? How are we able to drive that innovation and make sure that energy need is sustainable and satisfied? Where do you see that competitive edge?
Yeah, I think I'll first, point to we walk the talk. We're spending $1 billion in, onshore, U.S.-based manufacturing between now and 2027. We would encourage, customers to come to our plants, which are all based on our new technologies, So the old phrase, you put your money where your mouth is, and we're doing that, right? So our own solutions are all embedded within our own factories that we have here. And as I said at the very onset, the way in which Schneider is deploying and delivering against this technology, it starts with the hardware. So our hardware has to have the ability to embed and have the connectivity from a software platforming perspective. You'll hear us, talk about our EcoStruxure platform. So you can think, any particular aspect of any part of our solutions, it's all focused on that initial hardware enablement that ties into the actual software, defined technology that connects things into the software platform models to be able to leverage that data. It's an embedded approach across all things that we bring to market.
And you built the test bed for it.
We did, yes, yes.
That's I love that so much. Doug, what are your thoughts?
So, very much aligned. We have a huge investment into build out of manufacturing in the U.S., almost $1 billion since 2020. Of new manufacturing that we're building here in the U.S. But if you also look at, we've rolled out a new open automation platform called EcoStruxure Automation Expert,
Really?
right? So ties together, can lay over multiple different vendors, right? So it's not a hardware-defined solution as much as it's a software-defined automation that can overlay a multitude of different products, not just Schneider products, but all brands of products. And it allows people to flexibly upgrade that existing facility. So you talked about GM and reshoring. Well, I'm a born and raised Detroit boy, so know a lot about the automotive industry.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they still have to make all the cars they make today, right? Big demand for those vehicles, but they need to innovate to move forward. So they need to build new manufacturing, operate old manufacturing, and they have to do that optimally, right?
Right.
And so how do you move forward with some of that? How do you quickly deploy? Today, you have to build rapidly, scale rapidly, get to this point where you can manufacture, and that's having simple systems that essentially plug and play. Be able to put hardware in, be able to layer software in, implement automation, do it efficiently, learn, right? And then optimize the facility for people, right? You mentioned your workforce 4.0, IoT 4.0. Those are the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
How we use technology, because as Suzanne was saying, finite resources, people are a finite resource. We only have so many people. The growth of what we're seeing here in the United States, if you do the math, the people don't work out. There's not enough people to do what we need to do. So
Right.
The only way to do that is to build an obvious path of where you have smart products with open architecture software platforms that can help a customer get to that level that they need to get to from an operational efficiency for their critical assets and infrastructure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that I post a lot about on my social platforms is, look, we still have 400,000 manufacturing jobs open right now. Right now. Today. We have 400,000 manufacturing jobs open in the United States. Yeah. So, making the sector more attractive, certainly we need to do that. Making the sector more compatible with technology, certainly we need to do that. But at the end of the day, we don't even have the population to support 400,000 job openings. So it's crazy. But Schneider's certainly doing something for workforce development.
Yeah, we hired 400 new field service technicians just this year. But to your point, to hire 400 is an incredible uplift. We had to put a dedicated platform of team, recruiters, managers to interview, people to onboard. Think about onboarding 400 field engineers, because it's not just 400 people. It's 400 people, 400 trucks, 400 sets of training, 400 safety sets, right? So you have to have proper PPE, proper information, and you have to resource these people and bring them on. Now, here becomes the big play. You've hired 400 people. How do you nurture 400 people so
That's
that
right.
they don't leave
Career
and
path
take
them.
Career path them, keep them, so that they don't just take the next opportunity, right? We need 400 people that we invest in and are with us for years, because the uplift to hire 400 people doesn't pay back in 6 months. It doesn't pay back in a year. We need these people to work with us for a decade or more, right? And so we need to be able to not only hire 400 people, but give them career pathing, give them resources to nurture and grow. And guess what? These 400 people are all hungry for technology, right? They want us to use AI. They want us to plot the best course for them to go see their customers. We want to make sure parts meet them at the job site on time so that they can deliver for that customer. And they want to receive little perks and little benefits of the joy of meeting with these customers and getting done sometimes. So, not only do we hire 400 people, which helps out, but we've got to innovate, and we've got to continue to put technologies in these folks' hands so they can succeed.
Absolutely. And a big initiative was just announced last week with the veterans program, hiring program. And I know, Doug, you mentioned that you were a veteran. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm sure I know everyone loves to see it, but what's that mean? What's it mean to you?
I mean, it means a lot, right? It's some of our best trained people. The military is a great training program for what we do in our industry. We send these people a lot. They're part of a proud team, but they also work individually a lot as well. The training you get in the military is second to none. The programs that are in the military for what we do are fantastic. There's great programs, Navy, Army, Marine, Air Force. We look across all the branches. And the fact that we're able to find a great onboard for these veterans who have served in our country and step into a company like ours and give them this career path. And for me, it's the solidity for their family, right? Most of these folks leaving, when I left and exited and came into this industry, I'm someone who brings a family with me. And so when we run teams today and we bring veterans in, we look at them as families. We have a great resource network. So we actually have a dedicated military affairs person in the company, a full-time military affairs person. And we have an employee resource network 100% dedicated to veterans. So we get together virtually, we share stories, we share support for each other. We joke and jest with each other like veterans do.
Right.
But we celebrate Veterans Day, we celebrate Memorial Day, and we're great resources for understanding stepping into a large company like Schneider. You take someone who comes from a military unit, big or small, and you step into a global, multifaceted company, it's a little bit intimidating to understand the lay of the land. So we have veterans who help veterans understand kind of the conversion from military operation, military structure to civilian structure, multi-global national company here who's moving forward. So it's great, and it's fantastic to see. It makes our lives easier. We know what we get, right? We understand where these people come from and their training, and they're very professional, very driven individuals, and tend to work out very well for us in the long run.
He mentioned, our connectivity. So we do specifically work with Department of Defense Skill Bridge program. So it's truly a formalized approach, in working together. And as Doug said, this has been a huge success point for us in working and hiring veterans for years. And so for us, it's a doubling down. It's just, more. We want to be able to hire even more.
I love that. Yeah. And, I read that this Veterans Hiring Initiative that was just announced was really to support data centers. Mm-hmm. And, 20 years ago, when I was in college, y'all don't judge me.
Hey, I was a little over 20. So.
2 decades ago, when I was in college, that wasn't a thing. Working at a data center was not a thing. This was not a career path. First of all, I think that's really cool, because this is a job coming to fruition that didn't exist. We just made this because we have the technology and we need to make this, right? And, how do we grow this job role? And, more importantly, beyond that, how do we career path folks where they keep going in this role that, again, we don't have traditional, it's not like a doctor or lawyer, where there's this traditional step-by-step process. How do we do that, Suzanne? What do you think?
Yeah, so first and foremost, the data center space, I actually have been in since I graduated about 25 years ago. Started in Silicon Valley. So there's the amazing thing where we stand now is that from a career path perspective, there's multiple avenues. So as Doug described, the hiring in to Schneider is at that, field service level. So from an engineering perspective, really getting at, their hands dirty around the technologies. So that foundation of understanding the technology opens up so many doors. I can tell you from the commercial services side of the team members within my organization, career pathing, they go from, an FSR capacity into being interested in sales. Well, what better salesperson than someone who understands every in and out, who has sat side by side with customers in terms of going through installations, or maybe there is a downtime scenario. That's really where that relationship build and stickiness transpires in being that field representative with our customers. We're seeing a lot of different pathways, whether it's from the veteran community or non-veteran, just coming in from a tech perspective. It's kind of like all things in life, right? Think about college, think about where you started your career, where we start our careers. It's always a build. And so whether it's a sales path, or there's all kinds of opportunities from an operational perspective to get into, running order management, project management, even going into helping with our product designs, going into a line of business type of opportunity. That's the other great thing about Schneider, being a global company, being so many different, spaces. It's kind of the world is your oyster in terms of where you have a desire. But I think you don't really know until you get in. So when you come into a company, you got to figure out, what do I like? Do I want to be customer facing? Do I want to be in the back end? There's so many different ways in which you can take a career based on obviously skill set and personal desire.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Start, what if you do start out in engineering and then you're like, I'm really social, I want to do sales, so there's an option for that. What if you start out, what if it's like super opposite though? Like, what if you start in at engineering and then you're like, you know what, I'm really creative, I like being creative.
I can tell, this was my career. I started as a software developer.
Nice.
Out of college. I was writing ABAP code at SAP, I worked for another company at the time. And I had that personal reflection, moment of, I don't want to be behind the computer. I'd like to talk to people. I want to be out there. And so, we as leaders, right, you have different career pathing. And I talk to all, hundreds of different, individuals a year. And everybody's different. And you don't know. You don't know until you get into that position to decide what do you like and what do you don't like. And I think as leaders, as part of within our organization, that's how we support our people, is having the conversations and managers having those in-depth conversations to really understand what's the right fit. And it's okay if you move into a position and it's not the right fit. Well, there's plenty of other opportunities to go get what that right fit is.
Yeah. As long as I feel like you have to be somewhat, you have to say that, right?
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think sometimes young people, we don't empower them enough to say, hey, is there another option?
That's the key part. When you look at, especially young people, and as someone who started, like we were talking about, I started in the field as a field engineer, guy in a truck with a wrench working at customer sites, right? So I've done pretty much everything. I'm a general manager today. But how we deal with young people is such an interesting thing, because they come in, they maybe have ideals of what a job is about or what they want to do, and they get in, maybe they enjoy the job, maybe they don't enjoy the job, and they can't see where that goes from here. And so what can happen if you hire young people is they begin to look. There's a lot of noise in the business thing, especially for young talent, people coming after them. So young people, you have to nurture really well. You have to understand, their perspective, what they can do really well, what things won't seem to make any sense to them, and have really just sit down good discussions with them and bring them along. And actually somebody said to me the other day, Doug, you rate young people much different than some other people because you look at it a little bit different on what they bring to your team. Am I looking at, that young person coming in, should I expect they are going to do what somebody's been doing for 20 years? And am I going to expect them to do the job like someone has been doing it for 20 years? No, because they're going to look at it differently. They're going to use different tools, different techniques maybe, and you have to let them try. And maybe they fail a little bit, maybe they succeed a little bit, but then you've got to nurture that in a way that they can understand what their career path looks like, because you got to see their career path. Otherwise, you just go on LinkedIn and start scrolling for jobs, or recruiters call you and you take the next best opportunity. It's very, very competitive for talent out there today. And so we put a lot of emphasis on getting people in that we know are good talent, and then investing in that talent so that we continue to keep them on board and grow them.
And truly investing.
Investing.
Right.
Yeah.
Providing training, providing enablement for them to be successful, providing exploratory opportunities to know what else is out there, right? When you're in a particular part of the organization, sometimes it is tough to pick your head up and go, wait a minute, what else is here? But that's embedded in our people-oriented culture to really have more of that nurturing, whether it's early career or mid-career or late career. I mean, it's in all facets.
What are like a couple of tips that each of you could share as leaders of Schneider Electric to maybe offer companies that they could listen to this podcast episode today and they could say, okay, I really want to build a better culture. I really want to, foster those relationships with those younger generations of the workforce. Or, I really want to come up with this career pathing plan for my employees. What are some tips that you could share with them to get them started, maybe?
I think first and foremost, a people plan needs to be deliberate and prescriptive.
Right.
It's not something that just happens by happenstance, right? It is a sitting down and truly developing your people strategy. So that deliberate nature of what is, I mean, every company has a different take, on what they want their culture to be. And I think those two things go hand in hand. How you manage from a people orientation and how that then coincides from a culture perspective, thinking about how those elements collide and really work together would be kind of my first, tip of don't just think that it's just going to happen, through natural ways. It really is being focused and then holding yourself accountable to that, ensuring that tracking happens.
Metrics.
You have metrics.
This is a good use for data.
Exactly.
This is a good use for data.
Yeah. Is your strategy actually being truly implemented by your leaders? Because it's your first line leaders who end up implementing that strategy and being that focal for your entire workforce. So how are you connecting strategy to the leaders, then to the people, and ensuring you then follow that through certain KPIs?
Right, because we can all get in a room and we can all talk about how great we all feel.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
But if that's not flowing outward and, kind of down that hierarchy traditional ladder, and, maybe, your front line's not feeling that way.
Yeah, but culture is such an important piece. There's this expression, culture eats plants for breakfast, right?
That's right.
So you literally have to put your culture above everything else. It has to be the number one thing you focus on. It's the number one thing I focus on when I take a role. Like, I come in and one of the first things I do is I share the culture I expect from everybody as a first move. And when you're hiring, here's the pro tip: take culture and potential over capability every time. Because you could come in with someone who's been a top performer somewhere and they're your competitor's best person, but if culturally they will kill your team and they don't fit, you are far better off taking a better culture with a bunch of potential of upside that, you're going to have to invest in that person. You're going to have to build. But the great thing is their culture and you know how they fit. So many times I see people come in and they look at resumes and they look at the historical performance of someone or where they're coming from or what their university degree is in or from. I hired someone, true story, I hired someone because I told them they were a great person. They had the education background, they had zero experience. They were a fantastic interview and a fantastic interview because they were the best culture. And I told them they were a good person, and they actually went back and cried with their dad because I told them they were a good person. Yeah. I'm not going to drop her name, but she's a fantastic employee for us to this day, and she's just leading a bunch of stuff for her. But I literally invested in her because she presented the right culture. She had a great educational background. She had a huge upside of potential, and you could tell that, I could take her where I was going to have to do investment and build, or I could take someone pre-built who'd been working in Schneider for 20 years, so I could just plug and play and knew all the systems. But that person culturally maybe wasn't where I wanted them to be. I took culture. And so every time when you have these choices, it's a difficult choice. But if you pick wrong, it kills everything else. It kills all your rest of your team. It becomes a drag on the team. It becomes this issue you have to stick to. And then you need to reinforce that culture, and you have to hold people accountable. Lots of great books out there to go by to help you guide you. The 5 dysfunctions of a team and the ideal team player and extreme ownership and all those books. But at the end of the day, as leaders, we're accountable for the culture, and you have to uphold it. You have to hold people accountable for it, and you have to represent it again and again and again and again. And where young people tie in is engage them. Let them get involved. We do one voice surveys, employee feedback. I have 2 of the youngest people on my team, coupled with a couple of tenured people, leading the one voice surveys and talking to coworkers, looking at the data, bringing back action plans, because they look at the stuff different, and they look at it different than when I would look at it. They can truly help us understand. So you've got to build that culture, reinforce it, and it's the number one thing you have to focus on above all else. You can't grow with a bad culture. You never will grow with a bad culture.
Right. Absolutely. Your culture will absolutely kill your whole organization. But I do have a follow-up here. The employee that you hired and that you made her cry. That's so sweet, though. I love that. But how long ago was that when you hired her?
5 years ago, something like that. She's been promoted. Nice. She's engaged in some leadership development team type stuff, and she's my greatest champion. So she runs around and tells everybody that I was the one who hired her. So I have this little cheerleader who runs around and supports me now, which is fantastic. I don't ask her to do it, but she keeps doing it, and so it's embarrassing to a degree, But you hire somebody like that, and you see them kind of grow and mature and blossom and take it on. It's rewarding because hey, I set that person on the course. It was the right call. Like, you can look at it and go, that person was the right call. Sure, there's times I look at it and go, ooh, that person was the wrong call, right? I didn't know what I knew then, or something like that. But it's key to get it right, and then to watch that person kind of go on. I don't take credit for it because so many other people are investing in her. It's a great thing. I moved on from being her manager. Other managers have picked her up. They see the same. They react the same. They build her. Other people get engaged and continue on. And so, when you pick good people and you have the right culture, it just flows, right? It makes our lives a lot easier. It's when we have to deal with challenges and problems, and there's tools to help us. The great thing is we have technology now to help us understand what some of these problems are and how to address them.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, so statistically speaking, in the 2020s here, in this era of the workforce where we are, the average employee comes to and stays with a company. They're hired on, they stay with the company 3 to 5 years, and then they change. But because you invested in her, I think that, she'll be there forever. She will, people really value that sense of loyalty and that chance.
Yeah, agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the fact that she's there, she's been there, you said 4 years, 5 years?
4 to 5.
5 years. So she's still there, and she's been promoted multiple times.
At least once.
At least once. Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
That's a huge win for your culture.
It's the win we have to have. We can't keep turning employees over. It's too difficult. It's too difficult to find new employees. We lose the training aspect of it. So we can't train these people and then have them leave, right? We have to retain talent. Mentally, it's the worst thing that can happen to you is lose good talent. And everybody wants good talent. So in today's competitive world, it's how do we enable you? How do we enable you to do more? How do we enable you to be successful? How do we invest in you? How do we train you? We spend a lot of time talking about this as a leadership team. We're 100%, as a services business, we're 100% people business. Our product, what I give you, we say, hey, we're supporting your critical infrastructure and we're using technology. At the end of the day, what you really want is you want service. You want a person who's going to talk to you or is going to come to your site and fix you, right? All the technology is great. It gives you warnings. It helps us optimize. It helps us make more efficient. But what you care about most is we send you an extension of your staff, an extension of your organization who comes, shows up, keeps you running, makes you feel good about the investment you made, makes your company feel good, continue to produce your product. We're a partner for you, right? And so as a services business, we have to retain that talent because that is the skill that drives us forward. We live off of all of those field services engineers who are out there every day supporting our customers. And if we don't invest in them, they find new homes. They have great skills. They're great people. And so we have to continue to train them and invest in them.
Absolutely. And that Schneider makes it easy for us in the sense that, Schneider, from a global company standpoint, is a people-oriented. Our orientation is around our people. So as Doug said, services is a human-based, business. Yes, there's product and technology behind it. Services in Schneider, that culture and that people, it's at the heart of everything that we do. It's what brought me to Schneider, to move from the company I was at to here. So it's incredible.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. Well, closing thoughts here, because I know that you all have a whole expo to get back to, and it's a big event this week, and y'all are got busy schedules. But, kind of closing thoughts here today on this episode of Workforce 4.0. Suzanne, I want to know from your perspective and where you sit in the Schneider team, what is your one prediction for the future of work in the next 5 years?
One prediction of the future of work. I don't know if it's so much of a prediction. It's everything that we've talked about here. There's no getting around AI. It's here to stay. It's everything that we have that's going to be transpiring in the next 3 years, 5 years. So that level of connectivity and immersion around our daily lives, like we talked about in the beginning, the convergence of that in all of our solutions, in my mind, we're just going to continue to see. We're going to continue to see this iterative nature around how the software-defined technologies that we talked about are embedded in everything. It's embedded in all the things that we do in our partnerships with our customers. So to me, the prediction is we're just going to continue to see the advancements, right? More and more advancements in this space. And specifically, obviously, at Schneider, what we're doing to continue to take the leaps and bounds forwards with that.
Excellent. Yeah, AI is going to be big for sure. Doug, what about you?
I think for me, because it centers on data, and you can talk from industrial automation through energy management platform, and I think we're beginning to see this today, is our market's very dispersed and diffused today, right? So there's some major players like us, and then there's lots of independent services companies and third-party companies and stuff like that. But you're seeing these companies begin, the independent stuff merge together. You're going to see everyone start to form sort of larger mega services companies, because at the end of the day, this services business is going to be data-driven. We're going to make all of our decisions based on connectivity to customers, data, how we synthesize that data, and how we deploy. And so all of the independent and third-party parties, you're starting to see investment and mergers and acquisitions and investment, and they're going to come together and form companies that can operate on that scale with data. And so that's going to be the key driver. It's going to impact our marketplace and our workforce, because it's going to tighten everything up as you have to become a larger operation to execute against a data-driven technology like that.
Yeah,
that's what I think is going to happen.
It's key.
It's fundamentally the starting point, right? It has to be. It's the only way we can optimize.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate both of you so much for coming onto the podcast this morning and spending your time with me and sharing more about your work, your lives, and what you're passionate about with technology in the future. That means a lot to me, so thank you both. And for everyone listening today, thank you so much for listening in to our podcast here. We appreciate you. If you're not already connected to Suzanne and Doug, is it safe to say that LinkedIn is a good connection
Absolutely.
spot for you?
100%.
Excellent. I'll for sure link their information in the show notes so you can connect with them there. And thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you next week on Workforce 4.0.